Hello everybody, Strategic Sage here with another AI War 2 patch update. 1.308 came out fairly late last night, and it's entitled Mega Performance. The performance boost they were especially focusing on late game in big complicated galaxies, kind of like the one that we're working our way towards now in Faction Frenzy, and they reported major increases, as in some of the save games were as much as running 20 times as fast, really had slowed down a lot. There are still some cases where they're not happy with it, according to what they mentioned, but those are pretty much limited to games primarily that have a whole bunch of nanocost and marauders running about. So if you're somebody who's been struggling with the performance of your saves, that would be the thing to look at, is things should be going much faster, and they said the vast majority of the slowed down games that they tested on all saw major improvements. Tons of specifics on that in the patch notes linked in the description. There also were some balances to some of the other factions. The Zenith Trader had previously, you could buy unlimited amount of their stuff and just put them on all your planets if you had the resources to do it. Now you're limited to 2 per galaxy, so you have to choose and put them where they're going to do you the most good. The macrophage have been given a buff. They've been consistently really not much of a factor according to most players, so they're considering making them even stronger in the future, but for now they are getting at least some attention here. And Astro Trains can now spawn multiple trains at once, beginning on Intensity 5, where they have a 10% chance of doing that, scaling up to Intensity 10, where they have a 60% chance of spawning multiple trains at the same time. One significant change that's going to be seen in new galaxies with this patch forward is there's some new fleet types that can spawn. The same type of fleet centerpiece, but we're just talking about the types of ships that they get with them. And there were some bugs in that area, as well as adding in the new fleet types. The goal of that being to balance out the various tech areas so that one particular weapon's tech is not a huge amount stronger than others. So they feel this should go a long way towards addressing that issue. We will see how that works out. The wonderful exo waves do a better job chasing their targets across galaxies. If they're stuck in a system with black hole generators, for example, they'll prioritize those. And there are a number of bug fixes, just a few of them. Previously in the last patch, if you won a game, it would be highlighting the useless cowards fleet, which doesn't actually exist. That's just if it can't find an appropriate fleet to give that sort of MVP honor to. That's been corrected. The nanocost generating threat against the player has been corrected, and it was also counting macrophages as threat against the player. That's also at least theoretically gone. Factories weren't showing what ships they're building on the tooltips. That's corrected. The fleet capacity extenders were allowing you to double things like Hydra heads that result from destroying the Hydras. And that was not supposed to happen, and it doesn't really help you because you don't actually build Hydra heads directly. You just get them when you lose one of the Hydras. So those types of things, mini cluster bombs, etc., they don't show up there anymore. And then there's also a new setting relating to the instigators. Some people just really don't like instigators, and it's not a great number of players that have voiced that, but it's been a consistent group that has. And now, if you go to the galaxy-wide options, under balance, you can completely turn off instigator bases from spawning at all if you just do not like that mechanic. A couple of things I forgot to mention. One is on the upcoming DLC, there's been no official announcement of when yet. So this is absolutely not like from the horse's mouth and don't take it to the bank, etc. But the word from the official volunteers, if you will, the buzz on Discord, is that we're looking at late first quarter, early second quarter for that, and definitely not summer. So if I had to guess, I would say March. But, I mean, we don't know. It'll be here when it is here, and whenever it shows up, I'll definitely be getting into that, as I've mentioned. So, also, notifications have changed a little bit up here at the top in some cases. For example, on the Galaxy map, most of them, if you right-click them, it'll take you to the system in question. Or rather, it's just left-click. Sorry. And, yeah. So this actually selects the planet, you can see, but it doesn't actually take me there, which is a little bit weird. But if I want to go to, say, this one, which is not on screen, I click on that, it'll recenter the map there. So I think it's kind of weird that these select the planet but don't actually move the map there. But regardless, now let's say you're in a planet. Let's say I'm watching Corvus. And then I want to go see what's going on here. That'll take you directly to the planets. And see, it's working for Alterra and Kafiro as well. This obviously doesn't work because it doesn't take you to a planet. But so that's a thing that's worth noting in terms of how notifications work. And then there is the matter of CPAs. Now, I don't have a good one up here on the screen that I can show you, but CPAs have changed in a number of ways. The way they work is they take ships from guard posts in AI planets and throw them at you. So in order to get them to the right mark, sometimes it'll be taking ships, for example, from a Mark V planet. Let's say, that Layman here, let's say they decided to take some, this is just a hypothetical example, okay, from this Pike Guard post. And they took some ships from there and added it to the CPA. Well, if they're looking for a Mark II ship, they'd take the Mark V ships from here and downgrade them to Mark II, which obviously that didn't help the AI any. And doesn't really make a whole lot of sense. So they've readjusted that so that that doesn't happen anymore. They won't adjust the mark level of the ships. They'll try to take them from the right mark level planet. Like if they're looking for a Mark II ship, they'll try to take it from Mark II system. And then if they can't find that, they'll upgrade to maybe a Mark III or Mark IV, but they won't lower the amount of the ship, and it'll just contribute more strength to the CPA in that case. Now, when the CPAs come, it will now also tell you three things. Not just, you won't just have the timer expire and it hits, but it's going to tell you how many ships were involved, how much strength is in the CPA, and then how many ships of each mark level. Now, it's not going to tell you where they are. It's not going to tell you what specific ship types were used in the attack or anything like that. But before, you would simply see your threat number increase. And now it's going to give you a little bit more detail so you know what's going on, what mark level ships were added. You don't get surprised by a bunch of high mark level ships, all of that stuff. So they've added some more things to make it both smarter and also a little bit more transparent to the player without telling you everything. Now, there were a few smaller ones in between the release of 1.3 Grand New AI and now. The biggest things that were impacted in between there is the Hunter fleet is much smarter about attacking the player. As I've seen recently, they do not get distracted as much by other factions and really will come after attacking you a little bit more. The fire team's mechanic has been expanded to be used now by the Nanocost, which is all kinds of sorts of fun. And the tactician mode that uses that is the default now for Nanocost and Marauders. So Nanocost, Marauders, and Hunter Fleet now all have that capability. And some other minor things that you can see in the patch notes in the description, but that should be just about it. Thanks for watching, everybody. More patch news as always, as it's warranted. But as of now, we are back up to date.